Fourth Down in Texas, a novel about a wave of anti-football sentiment threatening a staple of American culture. And here to talk about it with us is the author of Fourth Down in Texas. It's our good friend, Matt Wixon. Matt, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Greg?
We are excellent around here. Appreciate you taking a little bit of time. First and foremost, folks may not know you left the Dallas Morning News a bit ago to take a job with Frisco ISD. My question is, do you miss us?
Sure, of course. I knew I would when I was kind of leaving. But I got to say, there's a lot of other things I don't miss. It's a great job that I have here. Frisco ISD is awesome. But the great thing is, when I took this job, I knew I wasn't really, getting out of high school sports and high school football. So it was a plus move in a lot of ways.
And so one of the ways you're staying involved with football is this book, Fourth Down in Texas. You can order it online right now. We tweeted the link out at DCTF, and I'm interested in the process behind this book. When did this process of writing this novel come out?
Oh, I wish I could tell you it was nice and quick and sweet and all those kind of things that are sometimes the way we do it with newspapers. But no, this was a couple of years of thinking and developing and coming up with ideas and revisions and things like that. But basically, I've always wanted to write a novel. In fact, I wrote another one that is right now unpublished, but that an agent had told me, he said, well, write something, that you really know and you really love. And I said, well, high school football is something. And I, at the same time, when I was starting this a couple of years ago, I guess almost 3 years ago, when I first kind of had the germ of an idea for this, that's when safety issues and things like that, the first challenges to football were really kind of coming forth. And I decided that would be a really good backdrop for a story about a high school football team, a high school football program, and the relationships of coaches and kids and dads and sons and all that. That's all in the book, but with that backdrop of the challenges that high school football and football at all levels is going through right now.
You have such an insider's view of this. I feel like there's a lot of people out there who want to write books with the backdrop of high school football because it is such a rich tapestry. Do you think, and this may be a dumb question, but do you think that your background and being such a prominent part of the Texas high school football scene for so long gave you an advantage, gave you unique insight in writing this book?
Well, I think it did, and that's not to pat myself on the back. It's basically just the time that I put in and I was given to talk to so many coaches over the years, hundreds of coaches who gave me, great insight on not only what their teams were going through at that particular time, but what they saw as the future of the sport, some of the challenges, and just the day-to-day things that they go through as coaches. And I loved getting to put all that in this book and writing all these things, because I think what it came down to, coaches always talk about relationships of them and their players and how precious that is and important that is, and how they call each year's team a family. And I wanted to get that in the book. And I think I really did have an advantage when I got down to writing about those relationships between coaches and players, because I got to see those firsthand for just such a long time.
We're talking with Matt Wixon, the author of Fourth Down in Texas, which you can purchase a copy at fourthdowntexas.com. You got to spell out fourth, F-O-U-R-T-H, downtexas.com. Here on Texas Football Today. Get involved in the conversation, hashtag TF Today. There is a little bit of, I don't want to say, you're kind of wading into treacherous waters here.
Sure.
This is Friday. It's been described as Friday Night Lights meets concussion. You're talking about something that is a problem in football. Is the increased safety need for safety. How did you balance out the idea of wanting to write honestly about that and not kind of sugarcoat the idea that this is a serious issue with the fact that football is such a staple here in Texas and that it matters to so many people?
Right. Well, yeah, I did. I wanted to be, this kind of comes from my journalist background. I wanted to be right down the middle and kind of present both sides. But basically, I love high school football. I love football. And I'm very respectful of everything and how important it is in the culture around here. I mean, it's still held so dear around here. And I think it has a great future. But it also has some challenges that it's dealing with. And I think it was good to put those out in the open right now. And I think part of that is just, people talk about the safety issues with football, but I think football equipment right now, it's better than ever. The coaches are more aware of safety issues than ever before. Our knowledge is really much better in that area. And we take things more seriously than ever before, such as concussions. But, at the same time, players are bigger, faster, and stronger than ever before. I mean, they're just specimens out there, these kids who are 17 and 18 years old. And the collisions, therefore, are bigger than ever before. And so the challenges of how to best keep those kids safe in football, and it goes to all levels, the young kids, youth football, up to the pros. I mean, those challenges are real and are something that football needs to face right now.
You're a guy who's used to filing a column every day. What was the biggest challenge in going from your kind of normal background of being a journalist and kind of being on deadline and having to file 800 word stories versus this, which is obviously such a longer term project? What was maybe the biggest challenge that you faced in kind of that transition?
Well, I think one of the big things is that when you work for a newspaper or just a media entity, you get that immediate feedback. Like you said, I was writing a column, several columns per week, or writing something every day, and certainly blogs and tweets and all that kind of thing. So you get that immediate feedback. But when you're writing a book, you're like, wow, I really like that. But did somebody else like that? You don't have that immediate person. My wife is probably so sick of football because she had to read all these chapters over and over, because I didn't want to burden other people with it. Like, hey, read this week, read this, because it was over 2 years when I was writing this thing. And so you really don't have a good idea. And let me tell you, kind of jumping off that, it is such a relief then when you finally get done with this whole thing, this book that's, it's kind of out there in sneak previews, I guess you'd call them right now, when you start getting feedback from coaches and people that you respect, and they're like, I think you really told, what the challenges that we're going through, and you did a good job with the story, and I like this and I like that. It was such a relief, because there was, as much as I've been a writer for a long time and I like my writing, there was, that little nightmare in my head where the first person would read it and go, what the heck is this? And then I'm like, oh, well, there's 2 years, just going to throw that out the window. But, so that's the big challenge. With newspapers and that, you get, good or bad, you're going to find out right away. And in this, you're doing like a really long process. And, it's probably not unlike people who do movies and that, and they put their whole heart and soul into it, and then they find out the first weekend that people say, hey, it's great, or wow, that was way off the mark there. So it's a little scary in that regard.
As the managing editor of a 400-page magazine, I know what you mean. We're talking with Matt Wixon, the author of Fourth Down in Texas. You can get your copy at fourthdowntexas.com. I should also mention you can read the first chapter at texasfootball.com. We have an exclusive sneak peek on texasfootball.com. Read the first chapter. I am interested, Matt. You've obviously this is a fictional story. I want to be very clear. This is a fictional story,
right.
But there are characters here. Gordon Tuffy Nels is the head coach. The outstanding playmaker that I know kind of dominates this is Kingsley Savage, which is an outstanding name, I must tell. I must give you some credit there.
Thank you.
You don't have to reveal who they are, but are these guys? Are there characters in this who are at least based loosely around people that you've encountered?
Oh, I mean, yeah, that was inevitable. Just because, like I mentioned, I've known so many coaches and players over the years that even if it wasn't consciously, based on something, that there's definitely something there. And Gordon Nels, Tuffy, Coach Nels, he's definitely kind of a molding of probably about 15 to 20 coaches, especially that I've known well and I've had a long relationship with and been able to talk with a lot over time. In fact, sometimes when I was having him dealing with the situation or something there, I was like, I think that's exactly what that coach would say. And so, definitely he's based on that. The one that is really the closest in there, and I've told this person, I told them before the book came out to make sure they knew, is Eric Mosey Posey. His nickname is Mosey. His full name is Eric Posey, but he's the former star of this team who suffered a serious injury. And his personality is strongly influenced by Corey Borner, who was the DeSoto football player who was, paralyzed. Boy, it's almost 10 years ago now, I think, something like that. And I got to know him doing stories for the morning news for years and years. And he has such a great personality, such a fun guy, and has such a great upbeat, optimistic outlook that that personality kind of got into Mosey in there. And he was probably maybe the most fun character to write about. He was just it's a delight to write about him.
So if you're a player or a coach who knows Matt Wixon, there is a chance that you're going to be like, hey, that kind of sounds like me.
Yeah, they're probably right. I'll just say, if anybody asks me, I'll go, yep, it was you. Yep, it was you. For whoever. Just to make them happy. But, I really hope people like it. I mean, we've talked about it. I mean, there's a serious backdrop to this book, obviously, what football is going through. But it's an upbeat book, though, about a story about this team. And I think really it comes back to it's the relationships of the players and the coaches, the teammates amongst themselves, fathers and sons. I mean, I have 3 sons who are in sports, and they're not quite high school age yet for this kind of thing. But I absolutely know what Coach Nels was going through as a dad. And I don't coach football, but I coach basketball and baseball, and not nearly as well as the coach in this book. But I know some of the things that they're going through, and I try to put that into it, and I hope that people will see their experience in this book.
It's Fourth Down in Texas, the new novel from our friend Matt Wixon. You can get it at fourthdowntexas.com. Of course, read the exclusive sneak peek of the first chapter at texasfootball.com. Matt, congratulations on finishing it.
Thank you.
Best of luck with it. I know this is. I have to. I mentioned it. I have not read it yet. I've been a little bit busy, but this is at the top of my stack, so I will get to it. Thank you so much for your time, and again, congratulations on the book.
Thanks, I appreciate you guys putting that first chapter out there. I'd love for everybody to read it.
Absolutely. There he goes, Matt Wixon, the author of Fourth Down in Texas, good buddy of ours. Now works for Frisco ISD. You know his name. He was such a stalwart in the Texas high school football media mafia, so to speak.
Oh, sure.
That you've absolutely read his stuff, and a guy who's of course anybody who knows him knows what a tremendous writer he is. And so I'm really excited to dive into this. And it's an interesting topic, right? It's something, and I want to ask him about the balance of it, because it is kind of a look. It deals with concussions, it deals with the safety issues in football, and the back of the book says, "Is football too big to die?" And it's an interesting idea and concept. I'm really excited to dive in. Read the first chapter of Fourth Down in Texas at texasfootball.com. The first chapter is, if it's any indication, is excellent. Grabs you right from the get-go. And, of course, get your copy at fourthdowntexas.com. Appreciate Matt Wixon hopping on with us.